Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Quirkybootless Project with just me this time. Unfortunately, again, it's a new Marvel movie, and you might be thinking it's Spider-Man, but no, we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, we as in me, because Nikhil is not here today. And that's because Nikhil has just not watched the movie. Like, are you kidding me? This is one of the greatest Marvel movies I have ever seen. And Nikhil's not here with us today because he hasn't watched the movie. And again, it's by a director he likes. He loves James Gunn. I have no idea why he hasn't given it a shot yet. Maybe he's studying, maybe he's not. We have no idea at all. And so, yeah, it's just me today, and I'll be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Volume 3, because I found it an extraordinary movie, and I loved all of it. It had all the highs and lows that you would want, an emotional roller coaster, I would say. And so yeah, and this is another structured episode because usually when it's just me, it's usually more structured. So what I will be doing is I will be keeping a structure to it, and you will see like transitions and everything throughout the show. So you can just skip to whatever time period you want if you want to hear a certain take on a certain aspect of the movie, be it emotional, be it the soundtrack, be it the visuals, the CGI, all of that. You can check it out through the timestamps that will be given throughout the video. So yeah, let's get started with it. So let's begin with the story. The story of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Volume 3 was one of the best stories in any MCU movie ever, and this is on par with the Infinity Saga, in my opinion. So what happened in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was something different for the first time. Again, spoiler alert, of course this whole episode is a spoiler alert, but in my opinion there are 4 things that made the story of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 stand out. And so let's go one by one, but what I want you to understand is that the emotional connect in this movie was insane. It was much more than any other movie in the MCU, in my opinion. Maybe Spider-Man No Way Home, some of that was very emotional, but I believe that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 beat that. And so let's start with the 4 points. And obviously the first one is the heart. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was a heartfelt film. It talked about all of the emotional parts of loss, grief, redemption, and it did in such an emotional and meaningful way. And like the emotional core, it really made it a very impactful experience for me, at least that's what I feel, right? And the second point that I would like to talk about are the characters. Of course, the characters are they're the main part of the show, main part of the movie, right? And the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, again, it was most of the same characters, but we really saw into the depth of those characters because it was all a different situation for all of them, right? Nebula had her own storyline, while even though Rocket was technically the main guardian in that movie, it dwelled into Rocket's past and all of that, but I still felt that the part of Peter Quill and the past Gamora really did bring up some trauma and bring up some pain for Peter Quill that could be experienced by everyone, I think, if you watched it carefully enough or you watched it with like a lot of focus to it. I felt that Peter Quill's pain was very visible throughout the film. The third part is the humor. As usual, Guardians of the Galaxy is very known for its humor, and this time it was much better, actually. I feel the film was much funnier. Like there are lots of points that I would say that you could clip and would make it really funny, and the humor again lightened the mood of the drama or of the more serious moments in the film and made it a much more enjoyable film to watch. And the fourth part, but not the least, the action. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was full of action. It had amazingly choreographed action sequences, and it just made you feel sick throughout the whole movie. Made you feel like a badass, because the end where they enter into the corridor, that scene is, I would watch that a million times over, honestly. That was the best fight scenes ever, on par with Black Panther, I believe. Black Panther, the first one, not the second one, please don't get that wrong. Yeah, and so yeah, these are the 4 parts that I feel made the story, I would say. And I will get into some of the visuals later, even though the action could be considered a part of them. I just want to add it to the story because honestly it wouldn't make up the story without the action. Hey, so in this section we'll be talking about the soundtrack of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And this might be a relatively short one because there isn't much to say about it, but other than the fact that it was amazing and it was almost perfect, there isn't much to go on and maybe discuss about it as much, right? But yeah, so there are some songs that were amazing, some songs that made you remember all the original Guardians of the Galaxies and the previous movies, and some of them was something like, Come and Get Your Love by Redbone. That was a very, very nostalgic song. And No Sleep Till Brooklyn during the action scene, which was really amazing, really fun to watch. And yeah, and so basically the songs that were added, they helped create a sense of like nostalgia and like belonging, because they were all songs that were previously used in the movies, and they were all like one of those songs where you can scream in the theater and really be fun about it, right? And they were a perfect fit for the movie. And it was always like nostalgic whenever that song played, right? And it was like a fun, upbeat sort of song which was used before, and so even here it was like an amazing it fit really well in the movie, even if there were some serious parts. Other than that, the sound effects usually by Marvel, like the visual and like the audio aspects of the movie are always like amazing, like with Marvel. Even if the story is bad, which in some cases that might be the case, it usually is a really great Marvel movie because of the audio and the visuals, right? And so yeah, and this movie did nothing less, and it was a great soundtrack. Moving on to the next section. The third topic that I would like to talk about in this review is of the characters. And so again, I could include this in the story, but I've decided to give it a different section, and this will be another short one, I believe. But again, when Marvel brings characters, I really hope they do it like they did in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. For example, the villain, the High Evolutionary. When the High Evolutionary said, there is no God, that's why I stepped in, that gave me chills. That was such a sick line by a Marvel villain, and honestly amazing. And the madness and ambition of the character is shown in the movie. The way he worked with the animals and the twisted scientist sort of vibe he gave to give like the world like a new order, he called it. And the actor did such a great job of portraying this ambition and madness in the character, and honestly one of the greatest villains ever. And I loved the entire sort of character and personality they gave this villain. Again, the Guardians of the Galaxy characters are amazing, like Star-Lord, Rocket, Drax, Mantis, Groot, Gamora, all of these amazing characters already, and all of them have the depth that they should. Maybe Mantis will have some more depth. Mantis should have had some more depth maybe, but again, she's considered to be a side character, and she had a whole story arc with Drax, and so that's that. Another character that they brought in, Adam Warlock, which I would love to see more of, even though he was not that well presented. I believe he could have been presented better, but whatever he did, honestly, cool. And I don't mind it being shown in other Marvel movies, as long as he doesn't travel the multiverse and that stuff, right? And so like the mystery and the whole sort of power he has, that could be used in other Marvel movies for sure, and it would be cool. And other than that, those are the characters of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. there are some that I should have mentioned, but honestly, if you think about it, like these are like the five main, and Adam Warlock was just there to just because I believe he has a future in the MCU. That's why I added him. But other than that, the characters were amazingly put through, and yeah, it was a fun movie to watch because of them. Let's move on to our fourth and final section, which is the visuals and the CGI. Now to the fourth and the final section of the podcast, and in this section we'll be talking about the visuals and the CGI of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And again, this movie was directed by James Gunn, so it was a testament to the power of visual storytelling and the stuff he does for not just Marvel, of course, but for DC as well. And James Gunn has always had like a really keen eye and the ability to create like visually stunning scenes and worlds, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is no exception to that. And like the environments and like the backgrounds of the scenes in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 are honestly spectacular, and it was always like it was pleasing to the eyes, not gonna lie. Like even if it was the dead like a head of a dead god, it was still like a work of art, and the attention to the detail is astonishing, not gonna lie. And it really does immerse you into the movie from the start, because Guardians of the Galaxy has always had that, you know, cosmic sort of vibe to it, because it does take place in outer space and in the universe, so you really do have to pay attention to the detail of that as well. And it's not only just the environments or like just the background in general, but the action sequences and like the CGI used in that sort of sense was also amazing, extraordinary. And the coordination, choreography of the fights were amazing, and it was fun to watch. It was really fun to, you know, it was so immersive. Unlike for example Thor Love and Thunder, even though those action scenes were good, these were just like on another level. And even like the creatures and like the aliens in this sort of in this movie, and even the animals that were in the movie were also so realistic, and they were like, you know, it was very cool. And like the level of artistry and technical skill is amazing in this movie. And again, something that is overlooked in the film, I think, is also the attention that they've given to color. So like in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there is so much color, there's such a vibrant palette, right? And the whole scene is like, all the scenes are just big, bright and bold. Like in some scenes, again, they're not meant always to be bright and bold, but when it's supposed to be, they have delivered in that sort of sense. And the visuals and the CGI, honestly, amazing. Round of applause to them and the team. Even though some might disagree, I felt that all the action sequences, all of the CGI throughout the movie was amazing, and that's something they have executed to the highest level in the Marvel Cinematic Universe until now. And yeah, so that's about it about the visuals and the CGI. Again, amazing stuff done by James Gunn. Hats off to him. And yeah, that was my take on the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 movie, and I hope to see a lot more like it. Fortunately, I think James Gunn, his whole I don't think he's going to be directing any other movies for the MCU. How unfortunate, honestly. Come on. But you know what, I believe if some inspiration was taken from this movie, it is visual, the story, and the soundtrack. All of these should be taken into consideration for the next Marvel movie. I really hope it's just like that, not having my hopes high for, you know, the Marvels and all of that, but yeah, whatever. And yeah, and that was my review on the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.